Well, welcome back to the kitchen. And what we have today is a crispy kale. So I'm going to start by removing the ribs from the kale and just try to pull out as much as possible, and then tear the kale into sort of bigger pieces. It's not that critical. These big outside leaves are okay for this recipe. See that, how I just tear that rib out? If you grab it with your whole hand, it'll come out in one shot. So it's a nice technique. These ribs are tough. And this kale has been washed and dried, and it really wasn't very sandy when I got it at the market. And kale is one of those great greens. It does a lot for you. I think there's a French saying that calls it the broom of the bowel. And as we all pass 40, we know how important the broom can be. Now all we're going to do is toss it with about, I don't know, almost a tablespoon of oil. Very little bit. A little bit of kosher salt. We want the leaves to just be coated, and you don't need a lot of oil with this recipe, so you really want to think about minimizing the amount of oil that you use at first. You think you're going to need more, but if you can just see that every leaf is a little bit shiny, like these are, well, then you're in good shape. I'm going to put it on a rack over a sheet pan. It's actually two little racks. Hello, I'm a rack. And spread this out. And normally when you roast vegetables, you really think that you want to go high temp, 375, 400. Well, that turns these to dust. So what you want is 250. 250 for about 25 minutes. Okay, my timer went off. You can even hear how crispy that is. Kale is ready. And this is a good snack. It's good with beer. Crunchy, chewy. It's crunch chewy. It's a great way to enjoy this vegetable. Of course, you could make it spicy, or you could really change the flavor profile. Put a little Old Bay on it, garlic powder, even a little bit of sugar. We're gonna make crab cakes. We're gonna make real crab cakes. None of this nonsense. There's no red peppers in crab cakes, Mr. Shoemaker. This is legitimate Maryland, from Fishing Creek, Maryland, backfin crab meat. Jumbo lump is nice, just don't have it right. There's very few ingredients that really need to go into a crab cake. 1 egg per pound. I hope you're all writing this down. About 2 heaping tablespoons of mayonnaise, splash of Worcestershire, a splash of Tabasco, a squeeze of lemon. I put, and this is probably my only avant-garde piece of it, is a little bit of finely shredded green onion. We need some seasoning. We're going to go 2 types of seasoning here. We're going to go with the traditional Old Bay, and then I like to cut that with a little bit of J.O. seasoning, which is an excellent seasoning from the Chesapeake Bay, and you can see that it's got these big, flat, coarse salt crystals in it. So you do not need to add any other salt to this dish at all if you're using the J.O. So what the heck do we do now? Let's take that same bowl. I don't have to make it dirty again from the kale. And we're going to get our crab meat into there. Now this crab meat was bought in the fall, and I bring them home right away and put them in the freezer. And you can see how nice that meat still is. It really does hold up well. There is a difference, a slight difference, but it's worth freezing because the other crab meat that you can get, the Asian crab meat, is pretty much inferior in flavor. I have to crack my egg, beat it up a little bit. 2 big spoons of mayonnaise. By the way, I don't normally say mayonnaise, except when I'm filming. I normally say mayonnaise. Now, 5 splashes of Worcestershire, 2 or 3 splashes of Tabasco. Okay, so that mixture gets beaten up. Really not the most lovely looking things. Looks like curdled monkey brains until you get it kind of homogeneous. And even then it's just this grayish, disgusting mass. However, when you get it ripping loose in the crab cakes, you will understand. Don't waste that. You can even throw a little crab in there, sort of wipe out the bowl with that little bit of meat. Juice of about 1/3 of a lemon in there. Just lightly toss to get it a little wet. And then I do a very fine dusting of Old Bay across the whole top, but just sort of one layer with the shake top. There you go. And then just about the same thing with the J.O. And I find if you can show some restraint, it's really about how much seasoning you put in the crab cake. You don't want to put too much, and you don't want to put too little. You can do these with saltines. You can do them with cracker meal. You can also do them with Ritz crackers, which have a buttery flavor. And before anyone condemns my Ritz cracker routine as not legit, that was taught to me by a real Marylander who's won like crab soup cook-offs, and he's a chef and all that stuff. Here they are. Everything sits better on a Ritz, as my wife says, and except of course me. When I sit on a Ritz, I have a problem. So it's 6 crackers, whether they're Ritz or saltines, per pound of crab meat. Alright? Hope you're all following along. 6 crackers. And really the best way is to take like a baggie, throw them in there, right, and beat them up. Back end of a knife makes an excellent little hammer sometimes. Just remember that you're holding a knife. And goes Ritz. A little bit finely minced scallion. And always remember, boys and girls, you're rocking your knife. You're not doing this with your knife. Your knife is resting on your middle finger, and the knife doesn't leave the cutting board most of the time. And that little bit of onion flavor I find really, really nice. Notice this big wide bowl is really helping me to not sort of break up the lumps, because this wasn't super lumpy crab meat. This was, back fin. We also add about a teaspoon of just wet yellow mustard. So let's Taste it. Yes, I know there's a little raw egg in it. I can't say that it needs a thing. Maybe a tiny bit more lemon juice. But that crab meat is actually sweet. That's delish. Okay. We're ready to rip. Okay, we got the broiler on high, and we're putting them about 4 to 5 inches away from the broiler, centered. And that is going to take about 7 or 8 minutes. Those are lovely. Let's take a look here. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That is beautiful brown. If you want to make sure they're done, you take a little paring knife, stick it in the crab cake, take it out, touch it to your lip, and it should be piping hot. You can see how delicate these are. They really want to fall apart, and that is a good thing. Okay, we're going to make another very simple dish. We're just going to make a little tomato salad. These are those Campari tomatoes. They're available in the winter. They're just about the tastiest tomato I can find right now that's remotely reasonable in price. And sometimes if I've had a stretch of warm days in the winter, in the 40s or something, I'll sort of get the hankering for a little tomatoes. Normally I kind of avoid fresh tomato in the winter time. And there we go. And shallot, as we all know, is a member of the onion or allium family. It's nice and mild and adds a lot of great complexity. Vinaigrettes and sauces and all that good stuff. And again, notice how I guide the knife on my hand. Knife touches my hand, and that way I can't cut myself. A little bit of olive oil, tablespoon, some salt, a couple grinds of good pepper, a little bit of fresh herbage. I have some parsley right here, a little tear. This parsley's clean, washed, dried. And if you're cheating like me and have the wrong tool for the wrong job, and I want to slice this parsley, it's really hard with a serrated knife. But if I pull it towards me, I'll get really kind of a chiffonade of parsley. You don't want to go through herbs a lot. I go to a lot of kitchens and I see chefs beating up this stuff and squeezing it dry. It's terrible. And you ruin it. So cut through herbs once, and that'll be enough. And I'm going to use a little bit of lemon instead of vinegar in this vinaigrette. And squeeze that in there. Taste how that is. Sometimes you need to put a pinch of sugar in these things this time of year, but you can see how simple that is. Actually, a little bit more salt, and I will put just a pinch of sugar. That's turbinado sugar. And now I can really almost taste the juices to get an idea what that's going to be like, and it's going to be nice. And we're just going to put it in a little bowl. How are the Krabby Patties, honey?
They're delicious, honey.
Really?
Yes.
Now you're a Marylander.
Yes.
That's real Maryland crab meat, which I'm sure you can tell.
I can.
You were there when we bought it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a nice sized bite you got there. Tell me about the crab cakes.
They're moist. Mustardy.
Mustardy.
Good. They're good, baby.
Thank you.
They're always
honey.
good.